Welcome back to the question and answer session with NightCobb and HeyItsNick. If you missed the previous episode, it'll be right above NightCobb's sweet-looking Perseus there. You click that link and you go back and watch it. And this is dropped at the exact same time as the previous the previous episode, so you have no excuse. Now you can watch both of them at the same time, so you can watch the entire thing. So we talked about the updates to the new Rex, the new Frontier outposts overlays, and the future of player owned and controlled bases, and how long we're gonna have to wait for that. Good discussion on that. Make sure you check that out. This is the question and answer session where we take questions from the chat, and we're just going to go right into answering some of these questions. And if you want to join us live, we do this every Saturday. Well, I always say every Saturday, not every Saturday. We do this Saturdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. 4 p.m. or 2 p.m. That's 2 p.m. PST, 2 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. No,
time zones are hard.
It's time zones are hard, and in my brains it's 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Twitch.tv/TheAstroPub. Come join us live. We'd love to have you come in and ask your own questions. And as always, as you're watching this, if you have your own questions you want to have, or you say you have your own answers to these questions, I'd love to hear you down below if you're watching this on YouTube after the fact. So with that all being started, let's get started. Black Dream Hunk asks, have you ever read the blog called 890 Jump Expectations versus Reality? Not sure who the author is, so what's your thoughts on the blog? I haven't read that. Have either of y'all read that blog?
No, I don't own an 890, so I would not read that.
No, but I got a lot of opinions on the 890 in itself, but I don't know if we've got time for all that.
I'll have to check it out at some point, but I don't think any of us could have enough to tell you about that. So, all right. Next question comes from Black Dream Hunk, who asks, there are two categories now for touring because the backer Antar Nihilus is stating that. Where's the CIG dev post stating that? I don't think there was a CIG dev post saying there's two versions of touring. And y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there was a mention that the 400i was originally meant to not be a luxury touring ship. And so they wanted to kind of dub down the luxury. So I think that's maybe where that's coming from, where there's a touring and then there's a luxury touring.
Well, like sort of similar with the 600, where you got the touring and then you got the actual like 600i exploration, where it's just like the one actually has the habs and the visitation, but like then the other one has just the vehicle bay there.
Yeah.
Instead, 400i is interesting. I think they're just going to leave the 400i the way it is. It has everything that even the 400i has. I don't see them needing a variant with the 400i.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those that whole brand origin is just, I feel like they're already so geared toward luxury and the accoutrement that goes with them to make them that much fancier for the inevitable gameplay that we're still waiting on of not taxi rides. What's the mission that they've caught?
Transport. I think it's like
the transport where you VIP transport along those lines, like where you'll be rated based on the comfort level provided to the NPC AI or something along those lines. Don't be wrong, like I even like that there's actually a rating system that's in place right now, and I noticed it the other day. I got stranded. I was doing a bunker, and my ship got blown up by some bounties that spawned. So I did the whole, I'm going to try the beacon system. It's spotty, but new patch, why not? Sometimes they sneak some stuff in. And I noticed that I got done with the transport mission and it actually completed the beacon. They got the payment and everything, which is kind of a new thing for me. I hadn't seen that yet. But it also gave me the option to give them a positive or negative rating.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave him a positive one. Just whoever that player was, if you happen to be watching, I gave you a positive one, just to be clear. You did a good job. They showed up.
He didn't try to pirate you.
No, he did not. He or she did not. And they showed up in a, what did they show up? It was an origin ship too. It was a 600i. And I appreciated it. I went and I found the beds and nice little areas, and it's kind of one of those like nice touch situations where you're like, I was stranded in a bunker. I'm fully decked out in armor, that has blood of nine tails, splattered all over it and stuff like that. But you've got some really nice furniture for me to sit on, and I'll give you an A-star rating. This is one of the
Ah,
best spaceship Ubers I've ever had. It's just really nice, really nice to hang
Spoober.
Superman
out in.
Ubers.
Yeah,
Spoober.
exactly. Yeah,
I,
exactly.
I love Spoober.
Super.
Yeah.
Super is so good.
I kind of derailed that question there, and I'm not even.
No.
I don't really remember
Don't
what the
feel
question
bad. This
was.
is-
It's about touring, but I think
Yeah.
that actually drives directly into it, which is I think the key is if they're doing the different touring variants, it's because they're trying to think of a gameplay, which is what do you need for a VIP guest versus just Joe's drunk and he needs to get back to Microtech, Uber versus the luxury Uber,
The
Uber
Cutlass
versus limousine.
versus the Origin.
Yeah. Do you get on the Cutlass bus, the steel, or do you get onto the 890 to get to be torn around? So
First of all, I know you're a fan of Drake, Paul, but everybody
yes,
knows you shouldn't get on the Cutlass bus because the
the
question really becomes: are you going to make it? Are you going to make
yes.
it to wherever you needed to go?
Oh,
You don't know.
I
Even
love
if you make it to where you're gonna go, you're gonna get tetanus.
it comes free with every ride. It's tetanus shot.
It's just the scene of that taxi driver that looks not good for you. Like you're just as likely to end up missing some organs. Waking up in a bathtub. Like somebody shows up in a Drake Cutlass, you should probably just
Just
you know what?
I'll
I'll
catch
walk.
another one. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll catch the next one. Catch the next one.
What was it? It's like I love the Cutlass Steel. The Cutlass Steel is the epitome of Drake. What I hate about the Cutlass Steel is that it is way overpriced for what it should be. That thing should be a cut down budget rental version of a Cutlass, and it should be 100%. No one should step in on that. But it's so.
It's actually not so
controversial
bad
ship.
in game. It's actually not so bad if you buy it in game. It's not too much more expensive than the other.
It's actually
Cutlasses.
cheaper. It's cheaper than the Cutlass Black. It's the cheapest Cutlass, which is
But
weird.
it's the most expensive to purchase with money, and it's just like this is making 0 sense, and my mind is hurting.
The Cutlass Steel is like a prime example of why everybody gets confused on the pricing scheme of real money versus in-game money, and it's hilarious because I think it's a very unique. I like anything that's relatable to a dropship.
Yeah.
And it's like it's the old style Vietnam
It's a Huey.
helicopter. Yeah, it's a Huey. And I love that trailer that came out, and I saw it, and I'm not a big Drake fan, but even I was like, ooh, I kind of want that. But then, you look at the price, it's like, ooh, I'm gonna wait for that in game. That's not happening with real money.
I think the key is that like the steel will, for instance, be really good for you got to pick up 15 people and they got to go to this work site. You're not gonna like the cheapest version of getting that is going to be the steel, and that makes sense. It's yes, it's for combat operations, but like not really because it's still a Drake. It's still Cutlass. it's still going to explode at the slightest tap. But if you got no options, then it's not bad.
What if like the UEE ever reach out to the CDF and be like, we have stranded Marines here. We got 10 of them. They need picked up ASAP.
Yeah.
Like you're going to need a Cutlass Steel to just be like, boom, they're Marines. They're just going military. They just need to get somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for that mission. That's the kind of stuff I'm looking forward to. I need a purpose for my Valkyrie. That's where my head's really at. And the steel would be an equivalent substitute if I felt like the steel wouldn't explode upon re-entry. So
a stiff wind would blow that thing up.
Exactly. These silver panels that look really strong just seem to fall right off. I don't know. It's weird.
That'd be a cool effect if they added it to just like the re-entry effect, just some small little panels just falling off the Drake Cutlass Steel.
Oh yeah, we lost something.
It's like we're losing stuff.
Yeah.
All right. The next question is from Ionic Gecko, who asks, with the teasing of more outposts, do you think they can be fully destroyed? And if so, what will be ways to protect them? Shield generators? What do you think, NetCobb? Do you think we're going to see fully destructible outposts?
I know we kind of talked about it earlier. I think there's got to be that line of separation where some of the procedurally generated. I'm hoping they have that same line of kind of like with the landing zones and what we have already for some mission content.
Mhm.
If you spawn a reclaimer in space and do the whole, I think the missions are like Pride of Arliss and the Black Kite missions.
Yeah.
If you do that and then you blow the Black Kite up, I mean, it's blown up, it's gone. Ghost Hollow, on the other hand, is here to stay. And there's just going to have to be that somewhat dividing line between I need that consistency of the universe, the constancy, excuse me, of the universe, and that I know that I can go to some of these outposts and always find them. And then if there's ones that are procedurally generated in terms of mission content that's been generated, like I don't need those littering the universe and always perpetually available. And it should be fun in some instances to potentially destroy them. Uh, everybody's got to have another reason other than Jump Town for the A2. Sorry to bring it up again. To like be like,
Once per
oh man, is
episode.
that a
Once per
nine-tail
episode.
sediment?
Yeah.
Yeah, is that a nine-tail sediment? And maybe you do some initial recon, and
Mhm.
you do something fun like, hey, call in my A2 buddy. I've got this compound or settlement full of nine tails, or pick your favorite gang, one day with pyro and stuff. And it's like, hey, I need you to drop a bomb. There's too many. I'm not gonna be able to go in and hand to hand combat them like I do the bunkers right now. Gonna need to bomb it.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, and that would be cool. That's cool gameplay for an A2 pilot potentially, especially if they've got like anti-air defenses. And if you obliterate the compound and that was part of a mission, then I think that's good gameplay. And you don't necessarily need that constancy for those types of outposts. And I feel like that's where they went on the procedural generation. Like it's
Yeah.
good to be able to use it to build uh, the permanent outposts and settlements and add flavor to those and do it quickly so that we get more planets, more moons with good content that much faster. But I think the other key element with that procedural stuff is okay, well, how does that fit into quantum with dynamic mission system and the generation of good gameplay that doesn't have a long lasting impact on the environment to such an extent to be detrimental. That's long winded, I'm sorry.
Nah, it's fine. Nick, what do you think?
I think that anything that a player makes for the outpost should be 100% destroyable.
Yeah.
I would love to see it so that, if you scout a location and you see players' bases there, and you're like, they got stuff I want. You go there and you can steal it and stuff, and then be like, okay, blow it up now. I don't want them getting ahead. Just blow it up.
Mhm.
And A2 comes in and blows it up. I think they should all be destructible. And they did say in the land clean system that if it's on protected land in the UEE, security will protect it right as best as possible. So it will probably be a lot more difficult if you're on claimed land in the UEE space than just out in the middle of pyro building an outposts. But I think that should just increase the difficulty to be able to get it done. But I still think it should be doable. And to have wake up and be like, oh, what happened? It's like, oh, you got bombed. Here's some insurance money back, and well, we're sorry. We'll help repair the costs.
We're sorry. We're sorry. We know that was probably hours, untold hours.
We're sorry. Here's some money. Rebuild it.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I think everything should be destructible. My purest ideal is that I think everything should have a destruction state, even places like cities, because in my mind, I think it's good storytelling, and it's if you have a good robust thing like the reputation system, it's a great way of showing consequences. Where if someone wants to, again with the A2, wants to fly an A2 over Lorville and drop a bomb, they should be able to do that, but then there should be consequences for that action, because you literally just committed a terrorist attack on a populated city. There's going to be repercussions that are swift and equitable to that action.
The only way you're getting out of Klesher on that one is if you escape.
You ain't going to Klesher.
Your timer is.
You're not going anywhere soon.
You're not going to Klesher. You're going to what is it, to Quarterdeck. You're going to the underground, the prison planet, because you ain't seen the light of day for a couple days, if not weeks in game.
Yeah, that planet's not even developed yet, so the timer doesn't start until it comes in.
Yeah,
Alpha 6.2. So good luck.
Yeah.
Until CIG figures out something to do with an A2 bombing Microtech, I don't think we're going to be seeing the armistice lift too soon.
but I think like in the distant future, I think that would be interesting because of repercussions, but also because the whole like using the quanta system to solve the PES problem of like being able to seeing, maybe not visually being there, but seeing like workers working on scaffolding on a place that was destroyed, and then 2 days later it's perfect, brand new and perfect, like it was never touched. So you could see the progression over a short period of time. So it doesn't necessarily harm gameplay, but it gives you a kind of nice little continuity of being able to like, it comes back. It got better,
It'd be good for like the dynamic event system too.
Yeah.
If they can wrap that into there. I really long for the day, and I feel like it was a test bed. The Siege of Orison, like they've got these other platforms, but I think we're all really looking forward to how that imports into their dynamic mission or dynamic event system with like a workers uprising on Lorville and the gross destruction that should come with it. I don't know why we're all rebels at heart, especially with Andor coming out here soon. I know a lot of people are going to be like, yeah, fight the power. And everybody's going to start identifying with those workers wearing bag helmets on Lorville real soon, real quick.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't take much because CIG does really good environmental storytelling with like, you just have to be in Lorville and go to the Central Business District to be like, I hate the Hurstons. I hate the Hurstons.
They're just sitting on their royal corporate thrones.
Everything's gold, and then at just 2 feet outside the door, there's people who are like literally wearing bags on their heads so they don't die of like at the age of 20 because their lungs got turned into literal acid.
And all the workers are pretty much like living like hard space breaker. They're pretty much stuck in that contract with the Hurstons because they'll regenerate them if they die to get back to work. Like, it is so bad in Hurston.
So that's a long-winded of saying I hope everything is destructible in some way, shape, or form. But I do hope that they will have a stage of maybe not fully destroyed, but like a destroyed state. Like we can see the outpost ruins. Like eventually an outpost will turn into that. Maybe not go below that, but that. The other question, go ahead.
Sorry, the one other part to that question, and I did want to say something about it. I forgot, was the shield generator question. Yeah, the shield generator question. I really hope, and I know I've mentioned Star Wars a lot. You can tell I'm a fan. But I really do want that gameplay one day of like, hey, you've got a shield generator for an outpost or another player base, and that's the whole thing is you've got to send an early, like recon team to be able to take out the shield generator in order to set up maybe that bombing run by the A2. So there's gameplay on both aspects. It's not just like
that would really prevent a group just coming with an A2 and blowing up and destroying something immediately. Is that like if they attempted it with a shield generator, it'd be like, well, you can't destroy it, so now we know you're there, and now we can come attack you, and you just wasted a bomb. But if you actually had the ground crew come in and tactically do it, you will, for one, you're going to make yourselves exposed on the ground to be able to get through the shields. So right there, you're like having to just expose yourself to that element. You could lose the element of surprise entirely by doing that if you don't do it right, especially if you're doing it against another player org who's online at the same time at the same location. So then it would just turn into the big PvP fest if actually having to defend that outpost, while also having to make sure they don't get to the shield generator before the A2 comes in, and the A2 has to sit and wait and be like, I need my opportunity. And then it's just, if it's a sitting duck, then they can deploy fighters to go after the A2. And shield generators.
It all compounds to make good gameplay. And I agree with you. I think it's got to be it's fundamentally got to be a risk system, a risk-based system where it's like, okay, I want to use the cool thing, but in order to do that, I have to incur some risk in order to put the cool thing to use. And you've got to put yourself on the line, or you've got to be really good, really coordinated, and really proficient at executing like a team like strategy. Sorry, that was my roundabout way of offering an opinion.
Also, if you have your ground guys on the ground where the shield generators, where you're going to be dropping the bomb, You need to make sure that they're out
They're
of there.
out before the A2
They're
shows
out
up.
of there before the A2 shows. You can't just be like, shield generator down, drop it now.
Yeah.
You gotta be like, okay, we're clear. You gotta
Yep.
wait until you're actually
Yep.
clearing out, or else like they're all losing all their supplies and all their gear and everything, and death is gonna have a major consequence down the road.
Yeah, and I agree with it. I think shield generators adds more risk and reward factors, because I can also see that moment where like you have a recon team that's going down and investigating. They say, okay, yeah, everyone's here, we're good. You know, calls in the strike, and the bomb comes in and just ripples off the shield, and they're just like, what? Like that moment of shit. They have a shield generator. No one told us that they're just gonna have a shield generator, and then suddenly everything hits the fan and makes things more
It's
interesting.
like, I thought you scouted this. I thought I did too.
Yeah.
Or if you're the A2 pilot and you have that really epic dramatic moment of, they're talking about, hey, we've got eyes on the shield generator, or proceeding into the facility, and then it turns into that like radio channel from Aliens when they start coming out of the walls and stuff, and you're like, oh god, it's a real firefight down there, and you can't help your buddies, and you just have to listen to them struggle to get that shield generator down while you're standing by.
And it gives gameplay. As chat said, it gives gameplay for like ground vehicles, so you can have rapid assaults with like those hover bikes, or you can push in.
Yeah, we're all looking forward to the Battle of Hoth.
Yeah, actually using Ursas to like bring people, actually using like the anvils to actually come in and deploy troops to get them in, and you can get them in faster, so you can use the A2 faster.
Yeah, and I think it generates more ground gameplay, and it's as simple as just because they actually already have the tech to put the shields on anything. That was part of the reason why they were doing the shield. What is the name of it? The SDF shielding.
Yeah, the SDF.
Sign distance field.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sign distance field. Yeah.
All they got to do now
I'm
is
the tech guy. I'm a techie guy. All that engine stuff, you have issues, Paul. I'm like, oh yeah, I understand. Skinned. I know what they mean by skinned. Lots of skin. Yeah.
What was it? Phrasing. The only thing they need is shield. The shield projectors, which is the thing that they had on a roadmap a little while ago to kind of put that in there. So
the shield emitters. Shield emitters.
Yeah. So I think that's what they're waiting for. So hopefully we'll see that in the future. All right. The next question comes
for emitters.
Yeah. Next question comes from QPan, who asks, how's everyone doing tonight? How you doing, Nick?
I'm doing good. I've been really just chilling, vibing all day. I was just,
Nick up?
I'm fantastic. It's been a really good week. And was really excited to have a good weekend. Do some Star Citizen. Did some Star Citizen last night. I'm really enjoying the free fly with the new ships, the final 8.
Mm-hmm.
So got together, did some multi-crew last night in a Redeemer and Mercury Star Runner. Took a Mercury Star Runner against her Hammerhead. Didn't work out. Just for giggles.
Yeah.
And all kinds of fun stuff. So it's been a good week.
You should try no problem. You should try the Reclaimer if you have a chance to. The Reclaimer is the we've nicknamed it the Battle Bus because it's got some insane amounts of firepower on that thing. It's more tanky and more devastating than you realize.
The Reclaimer is no joke. Nope.
Yeah. I'm doing okay. I'm getting over COVID. I'm getting over COVID, so it's been about a week or so since I've had it. So I still have a random cough that'll show up every so often, and I'm still thirsty as hell. It's like every 5 minutes I need water, kind of thing. But I'm fine. I'm doing good.
I'm impressed, by the way, Paul, that you hadn't gotten it already being a teacher.
I was surprised too, because I've been so exposed to everything, and like kids have gotten it, and other teachers have had it, but I didn't have it for the first time until just now. So, all right. Next question comes from Gin and Tonic, who asks: the turbulent point of interest team is really good, but creating points of interest manually isn't sustainable. Do you think they'll be able to make them procedural and maintain close to the level of quality? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we
talked on that a lot on the podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Jin was asking that before we actually got to that point, but yeah, I think that's the key. And I think it's definitely possible
Yep. Quick. Yes. For me.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the interest of time, I'm with you guys on that one. It's really quick.
The next question comes from Windlord00, who asks, which of the derelicts from the older CIG videos would you like to visit? Do you like in game? As a reminder, there was the Connie on the cliff, the Bengal from the Sandworm vid, the caterpillar in a swamp, ship buried under the sand, where cutting through the airlock to drop down in, windmill freelancer, and probably a bunch of them forgetting.
Yeah, wasn't there a caterpillar that was just snapped in half, dangling off of a cliff, edge of a cliff, and it like you'd have to like go down the caterpillar vertically?
Yeah,
like that I'd want to see. That I'd want to see in game.
I mean, I'm a sucker. I'm a sucker for any new biomes, like the swamp. The swamp caterpillar was cool. I like that. So.
That's what you stole my answer. I was gonna say I want the new biome ones. The swamp one was I remember seeing the concept for it, and I was like, ooh, yeah. I really get excited when with new planets,
Derelict
new systems.
Scorpius in a swamp.
Yeah. Yeah, let's bring it back to Star Wars again. I like it. No, I'm down. With your weapon. Mean you no harm.
I'd love to see more verticality though. So I like the idea of having a wreck that's buried underground that you have to like you open up the hatch and you have to like traverse inside almost like a bunker. That'd be kind of cool too. So though that's much more of a set piece design, like maybe like there's a outpost that's built on top of it, like a rebel or outlaw outpost, a pirate outpost, and all of their stuff is inside the like a crashed javelin that's underground, that kind of thing. So, all right. Next question comes from Ionic Echo, who asks, with resource management coming to outposts, how do you think managing all the necessary resources to make those outposts operate will affect the quantum economy? What resources will the outpost consume that you have to refill? Power. A lot of people don't realize that power is going to be a consumable resource. Right now, power is infinite, but in the near future, they even talked about how you have to use fuel to start your power plant before you can even start the engines. So you have to like prime your fusion engines with a certain amount of fuel. Then so you have to waste a little bit of fuel to get it started, or to have a battery backup that you have to use, and you have to recharge the batteries. So there'll be different methods, but I think power is the big one. It's not going to be infinite, and you're gonna have to replace parts and stuff like that too. What do you think, NightCub?
I agree. So that's going to be the interesting part, and I know there are probably a lot of Starfarer pilots itching about that from that same standpoint, because I think right now, I mean, the fuel for power, and I don't think it's going to change, is either quantanium or hydrogen fuel. I kind of imagine it'd be the latter for just like powering an outpost, and that's another gameplay loop other than just refueling a ship in space. And I hope it comes for the Starfarer, where you've got to go to these remote outposts, reload their fuel tanks so that they can continue to be a stopover point. You basically just became the space gas trucker,
Mm-hmm.
that flies around the galaxy, in addition to just the almost like military style, like mid-air refueling that a lot of people are using for it now. And I honestly, I could talk about the resource management and how it affects the economy. I need a Tony Z video in like the worst way, because they're bringing up a lot of all these new gameplay items and things that they're talking about are bringing up a whole lot of questions about what's going on with the dynamic economy, because we haven't heard anything
Yeah.
317 with the whole, hey, now fuel prices and I think repair parts are part of that economy. In terms of like, I saw it at first for a while, the whole bots thing. I saw a lot more like quantum interdiction,
Mm-hmm.
piracy going up in certain areas where people were trading, and then I don't know what people trade anymore. So I don't know if it's just a subject of we don't really see it that much anymore, or if
Mm-hmm.
it's something that is actually functioning. Did they get the data that they needed to start spreading this out through the economy? Because I really want to know how that's going to go into the resource management that's not only coming online with ships, but these outposts, because they're talking about it, and they're
Mm-hmm.
talking about it in the monthly reports. And
Yeah.
that I feel like resource management is intimately tied to the dynamic economy and how that's developing, but we haven't been hearing as much about that. So curious as me.
Yeah, it sounds, because I think Tony Z is is a lot less of a showman than say Chris. So Tony is much more of the kind of guy who's, I'm going to show you when I'm done, kind of thing.
I'm so
Yeah.
okay with that though.
Yeah.
And that thing he did, I think it was it two Aprils ago, where he just spent like that hour talking about the virtual AIs of
Hmm.
subsumption and how that went. he doesn't spare a single word on fluff. Like that
No.
guy literally just talks with meat alone.
Mhm.
Instead of potatoes, he's like, I'll give
Yep.
you all meat. And I can listen to that guy talk about his plans for the dynamic economy all day. I wish he
Yep.
would do it more.
I
Eh,
will never forget the CitizenCon reveal of Quanta, where everyone was sitting numbed out of their mind for so long, and then he just did the reveal of Quanta. And it's like, we're actually working on this, and it's working now, and
Yeah.
it's just like everyone's like, what?
Yeah.
What? This is crazy. And after like being almost put to sleep, and it's just
Yeah.
like just seeing everyone let up because the Tony Z is just a madman and just does shows things when they're ready, and it's just it's so good. It's so
Um,
good. But yeah,
and
resources I think are going to be really important for not just like the things you have in your bases too when you build them. Like if you have a hangar and a repair structure that can refuel and repair ships, you're going to need the material to actually repair ships that are landing at your zone. So like, you're going to have to keep inventory on that and keep those resources just stocked up and supplied as well. So
mhm.
it's like
I mean,
there's so many things.
even medical bays are going to have resources soon. You can actually access the inventory of every med bed for all the auto docks in game, and right now, which proves that they're going to eventually need to. You actually have to have the drugs to put them in there. So if you get sick or hurt or whatever, you're going to need to have those resources available, and you won't have them infinitely spawning.
So the character and 890 can only do so many limited amount of respawns if you don't have the supplies and inventory to stock up to keep people revived.
And we don't know how
Yeah.
much a revival or a regen, they'll have something like regen serum, which is in the lore version of it. I'm sure it'll be in game, and we don't know how much regen serum they'll have on those things. So
Yeah. I don't think it's a mistake that med beds are coming into the discussion right now because they already have they haven't done a nine tails lockdown in a while, and I'm kind of
mm,
curious as to why sometimes. But when you start talking about the whole, well, med beds are going to need supplies soon, and you factor in the whole, that whole blockade is not based on quantanium. That is medical supplies,
yeah,
and I just wonder if that's the next logical step. Is like, okay, well, we did it for quantum and we did it for repair parts. The next step is, a fundamental part of the economy like medical supplies, followed by maybe food, and then it starts branching out to the little things that are less commonly used. At least that's what I'm hoping. That's a little bit of copium right there, but
yeah.
uh, you know,
I mean, it just is. I think you're not wrong in terms of the dynamic economy, because there's a couple of things that are quietly going on in the background, like the dynamic mission system is being worked on right now in the background,
yeah,
or at least it's set to in the progress tracker, which means, and they even said in there, it's like it won't be hooked up to Quanta, but it's just the framework for Quanta. Plus, there's a new Quanta mission that's coming out in 3.18. Some new Quanta kind of things being added in 3.18. So I think they're much careful. They're much more careful about Quanta than say persistence and server meshing, because it's not as loud as server meshing is. But it's so important to the entire game. So
It's the back end that we're never going to notice or see, but it's
no.
such a complex system that touches everything.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
All right. Next question comes from 89 Dig Dug, who asks, will we see modularity soon on the progress tracker after the release of PES? I think so. There's a lot of hinting towards that. There's a lot of straining at the gate that CIG wants to do modularity, especially with, I think, the first modular. Well, not really. I'm trying to think of this. They've mentioned modularity like multiple times.
Yeah,
Talking
I
about the
believe it's
reclaimer
the
or the retaliator. Yeah, the
the
Yeah.
retaliator
retaliator.
is going to be like the first one to be like, okay,
Well, yeah, and
modularity's in
recently,
with retaliator.
like they wanted to do that in
Yeah.
2020 or 2021. They originally put that out the gate, and then they kind of swapped it out. So it's obvious it's on their radar that they want to do it. So
Yeah. I kind of hope that, I don't know. My biggest thing these days with ships. Don't get me wrong, I'm excited about modularity and stuff like that, but uh, they've got two things that I really need them to come through first. One, I need the new changes to the flight model, master modes, this whole reduction in ship speeds. You
mhm,
know, the the core fundamental change to the game that is inherently a space game first.
mhm.
To come through, and then I'll be fairly excited to hear about modularity. Um, kind of after that, and I had a second thing. Oh, that was, and some of the ships need, like, although they have gameplay, some of them need like purpose, like variable purpose. Uh, like I need a like A2 is actually a really good model because the A2's got a singular purpose right now in terms of jump down and and even
Well,
other ships where it's like I want you to have more than one reason for me to fly you to be worth getting in, other than the daily drivers, and stuff like that. If I want to own uh, a Valkyrie, because it's my favorite, uh, I want to have good reasons to use the Valkyrie, just like we talked about with the steel. And once they come through that, then I'm all about let's start customizing them and changing up their purpose for, or creating more variations for their purpose in terms of what I can do with them. But first, I need them to actually have their stated purpose and good gameplay loop associated with it to begin with.
yeah,
That's my
I
take.
agree.
Sorry.
No, I agree with that. I think modularity is important, but I don't think it's nearly as important as a lot of the other things. And I also think that CIG is dreading modularity
Oh yeah,
because
you can see it in John Cruz's face every time it
yeah,
comes up.
yeah,
There's a lot of systems with the ships that, while it would be nice to swap out things and everything, the gameplay we have them right now doesn't really sort of need the ability to swap out components, or not really components, but swap out modules at the moment to fit another situation, because there's not that many situations we find into, because the gameplay loops are exactly the same. We don't have dynamic missions that are changing on the fly and changing constantly. We don't really know. We don't have a wide spread of missions at our fingertips yet. We only have like a select few of missions we can really do, and the modularity that would be really needed to support that isn't really there, to be like, I feel like having this module on today or that module on today. It's just like, I'll just use this ship for this and this ship for that.
Not only that, but I didn't even think about it, but I feel like resource management within the ships, like this whole power relays thing, like that's got to come first before they even start, okay, well, we'll swap modules. How does that affect the power relay grid? How does that affect,
yeah.
where we had relays for this component, so the weapons got powered, via relay that might have been in the modular component that I just swapped out. So I have to imagine that while they're working, because they seem really focused on the resource management for ships right now,
Mhm,
especially if you read that section on the monthly report, they talked about it like porting it not just the Hammerhead, but like the Ares starfighters
mhm,
and stuff like that. Like
yeah,
if if that game, or if that fundamental core tech is not in with the ships, I just don't see how modularity starts coming into the forefront till that's together.
yeah. Well,
No
it
pun
makes sense.
intended.
That makes sense because it's that sort of thing is multi-crew gameplay. That's what that is. That's multi-crew gameplay, and it doesn't make any sense to try to turn the Retaliator into a flying motel if you can't even run the Retaliator as a multi-crew ship beyond just having guns. So, um, all right. Next question comes from Monster Avi, who asks, "What do you guys think of a more militarized version of the Banu Merchantman? Kind of like a reverse Kraken versus Privateer thing, like for a combat Suli. I'd love to see it, but I don't think we're going to. The
The
Banu are,
BMM is already pretty good for combat. If you look at the stats, it's not a slump when it comes to combat. It's got big guns. It'll be able to hold its own. I don't think it really needs its own variant. It's kind of a jack of all trades, the market ship.
mhm, yeah,
I'm all about combat like versions of ships, but I'm also one of those people that's like, I want an excuse. I want an
mhm,
excuse to play escort duty. And I love the idea that there's some ships that are just not going to be geared for combat because they're going to have to, pay me to show up in my combat oriented ships like the Perseus and
mhm,
ride escort next to it to protect it. So, although it will provide interesting variation to the ships, and I like the Banu Merchantman would definitely look cool as a combat ship, as demonstrated with the original art. That looked like a combat ship. It did not
mhm.
look like the friendly merchant vessel to sell your wares. Uh, you know, so I think it could be geared that way. Um, just it'd be one of those things like sometimes I just want a luxury origin ship to be a luxury origin ship that needs protecting, and it can have
Yeah,
some defense. I'm not saying it should be helpless, but I
it's
I also
not
don't necessarily.
designed. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Next question comes from Phantom5692, who asks, regarding the beacon system, if no player answers the beacon in a certain amount of time, can NPCs spawn and accept beacons? Not currently. I think that's eventually planned, though. For those of you who don't know, and we were talking about this earlier, because Nightcop, this is going to sound weird because you're now, I know you're like, oh, I've only been doing this for a couple of years. You're an old veteran now, so welcome to that.
Somebody in chat said something to me about it too, like, "Oh, you missed all the dark times," and then somebody
You missed the
responded with,
dark
"Don't
times.
worry, there'll be more."
There'll be more. Yeah.
There'll be more dark times. Just you wait.
Yeah.
The next controversy is just around the corner.
It's gonna happen. But anyone who's been here for more than a year is pretty veteran, because a lot of people don't even know what the dynamic economy is. So we've gotten so many new people in the last couple of months. So for those of you who are basically may not know, the dynamic economy is run by this thing called the quantum system, where everything in the background is controlled by a modular AI system, where they kind of give AI certain categories, certain randomized traits, and each location and each like station and landing zone has needs. They have food, water, materials, and depending on what they do, those materials will be unique for every other location. So you go they will spawn missions to say, hey, we need this much iron to keep our foundries running, and NPCs will fill that if no player does. So the entire system is designed so that the NPCs will run their entire economy. An entire game will happen without a single player logging on, and that players are participating in that economy. So it's more likely, in fact, in the future, that if you have a beacon that says, I need rescue, that an AI will show up more than a player, because it's like a 9-to-1 ratio, where for every 10 individuals in the universe, 9 of those will be NPCs and only 1 of them will be a player. So that's important to keep in mind as well when we're going forward for any gameplay loop, is that you're more likely to encounter an AI in the game than a player in the distant future. So.
And that'd be really good
wrong.
if they get that working with actual medical gameplay, so that if a player will be guaranteed to be at least revived or rescued by at least an NPC, so then at that point they can remove backspacing entirely.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be rescued eventually, so just wait there, we'll get you. Just
Yeah. I've lost count how many times that I just swear when I'm asking for a revive or an escort. I get stranded a lot at bunkers.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm asking for that escort, I throw that escort beacon out and I wait and I wait and I'm like, oh man, because all it takes is for you to not be in a third party view of either your ship or yourself, or somewhere where you can't see the notifications on the MOBA glass. And granted, with the 100-player servers, it's a little bit less frequent that this happens. But I used to think on a 50-player server, it's like, I threw that medical beacon out at the exact wrong time. Everybody's watching themselves land at Lorville right now, or just double checking the clouds around Orison because they still can't find the spaceport no matter how many times they angle their ship differently coming through orbit, something like
Mm-hmm.
that.
they still can't look and find the flashing red lights.
I know,
I
the
can't.
trapezoid. That's what I always say. It's the trapezoidal red lights. That's what you got to look for.
I can't even do that, and it's just because I don't go to Orison ever. I just avoid it.
Yeah, or Orison. It's
Yeah,
so pretty. It's
it-
so out of the way now that nobody wants to go there.
Well, I mean, I think one of the big things that people don't realize is that in the near future, and if you want to get a mission, you're going to have to go to those locations. And that's going to be, you're going to have to get used to flying down to a planet, going to a location, being like, I'm just going to take all the jobs I can find so I don't have to come back here. So,
Yeah. Well, that aerodynamic thing, and the idea that it's going to be a struggle to come through certain atmospheres depending on your ship. Like, you may be so frustrated just piloting down. It's like, I'm stuck. I'm staying here for at least a few days. That was a nightmare, just landing my
mhm.
Caterpillar here for delivery. What kind of mission content can I go? Because I gotta psych myself up for the takeoff,
Yeah.
and the heavy winds and all the other things that are hopefully coming with that um, aerodynamic what do they call it? The
The
thing.
it's like it's the thrusts. There's some sort of like it's like the thrust curve is what what they're doing, where it's like it's going to take you longer to get out of atmosphere if you don't have an aerodynamic ship versus if you do, because you also have like the ailerons and stuff like that will help you control better with the less
control
fuel
surfaces,
control
aerodynamic
surfaces.
control surfaces. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all right, we got 3 more questions left. The next
can do
question comes from Araxa, who asks, what CitizenCon panel is everyone most excited for? Start to read that with you, Nick, on this one.
I think the last one. I want the last one because I know that's going to be the one that's going to be the spicy one.
The ship one?
So, yep. That's going to be the one everyone wants. So, pyro stuff, I'm not. We did pirate last year. I'm not excited for that. I'm not excited for seeing more of the same.
It's not even just last year, is it? It's like 3 years in a row. That's been the highlight topic.
And it's just like, I'm done with pyro. Show me other things. Show me other tech outside of pyro, even in Crusader. I don't care. Just let's move. We know you're working toward it. Let's just move on and look past it. Okay. So the last one with the ships and all the ship stuff and unannounced and new stuff.
What do you think, NightCobb?
Oh,
for me, I think I know your answer, but
I want to hear your guess now.
I think it's going to be the need for multiple speeds, because that's the one that's like completely fundamental.
Yeah, it's definitely a tie between that one and the resource management panel, because they're big. The gem of this game, I feel like most of the time, where it excels above so many other space games, is the multi crew and the idea of like the learning curve for flying ships in Star Citizen right now is it's not too steep, but it's steep enough that just when you get to the point where you figure out how to land your ship, how to manage its resources, you feel accomplished. That's an achievement after you first started playing, and there's a lot of value in that. And not only that, but as the mechanics, as you realize the mechanics get even deeper, becoming a fighter jock, to the equivalent of like people like Avenger 1, when you've really mastered those little systems and how the ships fly, how different ships fly. Uh, that's kind of a big core gameplay thing. And they're about to turn it all on its head, I feel like. I don't know if everybody realizes it, but it sounds like the entire core of the space combat and how you fly spaceships is getting ready to turn on its head, and I'm dying to see what they're working on, because you know, what ships you buy, what ships you fly are going to be heavily dependent on those two systems and how they come into play, because it might change the meta a lot.
They've also talked about how like they're testing rebalancing changes now, and like a lot of the how it's like there's a meta of like the Gladius and the light fighters. It's just like that's kind of going away. They've already like mentioned that's going away. They're like a lot of the heavy fighters and everything are going toe to toe with everything now in their role. So it's like there's going to be a rug pull happening very soon, so that CIG can clean the floors and set everything down fresh and new and redecorate. And I don't think everyone's gonna like the new redecoration of what they're doing, but it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be an interesting time for sure. I think a lot of people who are there's going to be a lot of PvPers out there who are going to be mad, and there's going to be a lot of PvPers out there who are happy, and it's going to be just an interesting bake. There might be even PvEers that would be like, oh, I want to do PvP now because this is fun, or go further.
I'm going to use an analogy. Go ahead.
You brought up something, the thing that might even just be, the little stuff that turns it on its head. Like, hey, this light fighter now has like a relay that's in this one location that is just like slightly more easy to hit than other power relays in this other light fighter. And whereas before, this light fighter was that much better, now all of a sudden the resource management system has made it vulnerable, in some cases where, people, it wasn't as vulnerable before. And I look forward to that, and at the same time fear it. Sorry, go ahead.
That's cool. I'm actually looking at chat. It's something else, but no. I was going to say something to the effect of what is it? that this is a feeling like they're going to have to break some bones. Like right now, the current gameplay is a lot of broken bones. There's a lot of things which are temporary, and they have to. The CIG is going to have to sooner or later have to set that bone, and they're going to set it. They're going to be popping it back into place, and it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot, especially when these changes first happen. A lot of people, and it's not the first time this happened. This has happened every major patch. Like it happened in 3.0, it happened in 2.0, it happened in 1.0, and every so often you'll see this major reset of how they're trying to handle flight, and they've gotten better. They've been dialing it in so they know exactly what they need to do. But that change is going to be so dramatic that players who are used to the meta now will not be used to the game later. And I think the smart players are the ones who are flying the ships that they like to fly and learning how to fly in a very general sense, rather than a specifically use this loadout, this sets of stuff, and this on this ship, only this ship, because it's the meta flavor of the week to get good, because then it becomes a crutch rather than learning how CIG wants the ships to be balanced. So as for me personally, I'm really looking forward to the Lorville Redux, mostly because I have a feeling, based off of reading the last monthly report, that Lorville is their new standard. Lorville is about to be the new standard of how landing zones are built, and it'll probably go through and start changing all of the landing zones from Area 18 to Microtech to even Orison, because of there's a lot of things they've been adding. Like, for instance, they mentioned multiple neighborhoods in Lorville that you can access to. Changes.
So it's going to get a lot larger with actual sprawling areas you can go explore to and everything.
Yeah. And possibly even things like being able to travel through using like your cyclones or your rangers or whatever, like being able to drive to those locations.
So like a mini city,
like an actual city.
Explore.
Yeah. Because that's something that players have been asking. Players have been asking for that forever. They haven't said that specifically, but they mentioned in the monthly report 4 neighborhoods and traveling between them. And it's like,
what is travel?
What are we talking? Just getting on a tram? Or are we talking about what are we talking about? Are we walking there? Like,
can I get my cyclone and just go there? Do I gotta take a bus? How's it gonna work?
I feel like they've got to wait for that too, because they just implemented all that AI tech where they're getting ready to start, having conversations on the train, and everybody wants the lore that's coming with that.
Yeah.
And now I don't want a reason to not ride the train and listen to the Hurston workers talk about how crappy their lives are.
Well, I have a feeling that like what they're doing is they're trying to build out a city that they think players would want to experience, that will also include, like, you can take the tram, you can also drive, because maybe your hab that you purchased is halfway between the 2 train stops, so it's just easier for you to drive, get off at this stop and drive the rest of the way, or walk the rest of the way. And
train will probably be the best way to get to any perimeter line, because we'll just have a perimeter line train that goes to any garage on the perimeter.
Yeah.
And also direct travel between the spaceport and Hurston Dynamics business area and this, and the other one. But yeah, all that travel with direct transport through the train is also very good too, because if you can travel between around the city or whatnot in a vehicle, well, then that's not as efficient as just taking a train directly from point A to point B.
Yeah. And it's important. I don't think we're going to see, like, it's not going to be GTA or like Night City or anything like that. We're not going to see that level of detail. But I think even getting a 16th of that detail, where like it's not just this small hub area where you can access everything by running around and then leaving, will give what people have been wanting. Because I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, I want to be able to drive around cities. I want to have bigger cities that are explorable. I think whatever we're going to see in the Lorville Redux will tell us a lot about what direction that CIG wants to go for landing zones going forward, and possibly even redo some of the landing zones they already have. So we can see more of and obviously not all of them have to be exact like that. We might have stuff like Microtech or Area 18, where it just makes more sense to have a small little hub zone, but especially for places like Terra and Earth and Killian and Green and all of these different planets, which are supposed to be these huge megalopolises where you just have so many people who live there, having more than just effectively a strip mall of land that you can explore.
Yeah.
Be kind of nice, especially with all the resources that CIG is already putting into like showing off how beautiful these vistas are and such. So
Yeah.
we'll
Isn't
see.
that the irony of this space game though? Like we're all hungry for more landing zone and land-based content.
Mhm. But it's a
And
space
it's like
game.
the space
Yeah.
game.
But it's a
But
Yeah.
space game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the thing about space is that especially space travel is important, but you're always going somewhere. You know, the Star Trek Enterprise is always going somewhere, and when they encounter things, there's got to be a place to go to that's interesting. Same with
Gotta
like,
have crew member number 5 dying on some planet. That was the
Yes.
primary draw. Like
Exactly.
Space isn't the destination; it's the mode of transport.
yes,
the medium,
but
the medium by which you get there. Yeah.
but as it always says, it's not about the destination; it's about the journey. So the important part isn't necessarily where you're going, but it's how you get there. So,
Oh,
but
man.
having
How many more of those sayings can we fit into this conversation?
yes, all of them.
All of the sayings in one Q&A.
All right, we got last 2 questions. This question comes from Winlord00, who asks, do you think some game actions should receive a death penalty, i.e. insta death of a spaceman rather than out-of-game consequences? Where would you draw the line, i.e. should all game infractions be handled in-game? I think there needs to be, and I think it's both interesting and fun, would be to have a kind of like a death penalty, or like a you're not getting out of jail, but it's got to be for some heinous stuff. Like there's got to be some massive thing, because for criminals, that's a goal, that's an achievement. You know, I was so bad in this game that they had to execute me.
Right. I think it'd be like if you if you went like on a killing spree and killed 150 people before even being caught, then it's just like
Yeah.
So
your
stand
sentence
by Avenger
is
1 for the new,
life.
security post Korea. He's about to have that.
Yeah.
I think it should be like I don't think there should be like a death penalty where the game just forces you to make a new character. I think that's not good. I don't think that's a good game design. But I think if they made it so that you had so much time in prison that the only way you're getting out is by escaping, because doesn't matter what you do in prison, you're not reducing your sentence to an amount that's like reasonable. Like you need to break out and go find refuge somewhere.
And you're never losing that heat. Like you're living in outlaw territory for the rest of your life. You even step foot into a system that's going to set off more alarms than you can realize, and you're just going to be chased the entire way, kind of thing. So
I have the death sentence on 12 systems.
exactly. Well, see, that's why I think execution is a good thing, because as Chad pointed out, it gives you, maybe there's like a window where like you've got 24 hours before your execution happens. Your buddies can bust you out, but you ain't coming back, kind of thing. And I think I'm always a big fan of anything that makes gameplay more interesting and dynamic, and it has consequences. Like, but it can't be just for like you shot somebody, death penalty. It's got to be something like you blew up a Bengal carrier.
Oh yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, you're responsible for the death.
That's a good one.
Like thousands of crew members are dead because of you.
You dropped an antimatter bomb on Lorville. Like you're not coming back. You've literally you've committed genocide. You're not coming out of this.
Yeah. You're not getting out of this, and we're going to chase you to the ends of the earth and even into Pyro for you.
and that would be neat too if the law system was tied to it in that way. And they talked about the new bounty hunting and stuff like that. Like if you can get somebody with that kind of penalty, and it becomes like the million credits, 2 million credits, something like that. Like that's the player to chase. Man, that's some gameplay that comes with that eventual death sentence. And that'd be great if it was it's not so much the death penalty. It's we don't want him alive.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
This marker is only good.
Yeah.
If
death.
Brings him in cold.
It's not dead or alive. It's dead. It's only dead.
Yeah. Dead is the only option you have.
Yeah. This is not a bounty hunt anymore. This is an assassination.
Yeah. But I mean, I think the whole kind of like, it's not necessarily like you're done, delete your account, but like you got to remake a new character. Like you're so infamous you've got to make a new character once you reach that point.
Like, your reputation is already destroyed everywhere. You need to make a new character, or else you're not going to be able to play the game nicely. Because the game is just so, everything you're doing is just so negative. You piss off all the gangs, you piss off the UE. Like, what else do you want us to do? You need to make a new character now because you can't have you have reputation nowhere.
Yeah, kind of thing. All right, last question from Phased Kitten. This is a very important one. What supernatural horror / thriller movie with my significant other tonight? What should they watch with their significant other tonight?
Horror movie?
Supernatural horror.
Supernatural horror. Oh. I always like The Haunting in Connecticut.
That's a good one.
I always like that one.
I will say It Follows. If you haven't seen that yet, it's a great one.
Yeah, it's a good one. It Follows is good. I was gonna date me a little bit, but I was always really affected by The Ring.
The Ring's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The original Ring, like Ju-on, or like the American version?
Honestly, both. I think they're both quality.
Yeah.
Also, The Grudge. The Grudge is a good one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tough versions though, but I like the Sarah Michelle Gellar one.
Yeah.
Well, I can't blame you there because it's got Sarah Michelle Gellar in it.
Yeah, it's got Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That's but like how can you not like it?
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Well, that was the last question. Thank you.
Question.
Thank you to NightCob and HeyItsNick for coming on. And fun fact, I discovered this when we interviewed Dave Haddock, is that Dave Haddock is a big fan of horror movies. So those who are wondering, like, why is there so many things that are coming on that look like horror movies? Because the writer enjoys horror. You're going to achieve this.
So that'll be good when Space Crab comes in and we gotta go into a cave and a Space Crab pops out. Yay! Yeah. I can't wait.
Yes.
Yeah. Really excited. So the spider thing from Mandalorian is a definite thing coming up. I'm excited.
Yes. Thank you again, NightCob. Make sure you twitch.tv/NightCob with a 1 instead of the I, and twitch.tv/HeyItsNick. Go follow them, subscribe to them. And as I said at the very beginning, thank you for watching this. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you enjoyed this, hit the little bell icon to know exactly when these drop. These both drop at the exact same time now, so the question answers and the actual discussion section, so you can watch both right away. Like the video if you enjoyed this, and comment down below your own questions, your own responses to these. Would love to hear those. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.